Are you ready? It is time for KMB Talk. Welcome everyone to another episode of KMB Talk. I am your host, Kerry Michael Bennett. Today on the line, we have Dr. Timothy Bisping, Dean of College of Business at Stephen F. Austin State University. Dean, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you, Kerry?
I'm doing very well indeed. Very well indeed. I want to say thank you for making time to come on the show.
Oh, I appreciate the chance to talk with you a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a while. And for those that don't know, Stephen F. Austin State University is where I received my bachelor's in finance many moons ago, well before Dean's time there. So, if I seem a little partial throughout the show, it's for a reason.
That's right. We'll take that.
We'll take that. Preparing, I was in my closet and I could not find a purple button-up. And I knew I had one. So I know you can't see, but I'm wearing the closest shade of blue that I can. So for those alumni out there, Axum Jacks.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We're gonna have to get a shirt to you in the mail, maybe.
Yeah, we can make that happen. I need to have some SFA colors up here.
Yeah, you do.
So an interesting SFA story before we really dive in. So I graduated in 2000, and it wasn't long thereafter I was recruited into the hospitality industry in Hawaii. And rural Hawaii, Big Island, and specifically an 11,000-acre working cattle ranch that we had obtained, or the company had obtained, an exclusive access lease to perform activities. So, at the water level, you're thinking sailboats and et cetera, and at the top, zip lines, horseback rides. Anyway, first responsibility I had was building a downhill mountain bike trail down the Kohala Mountain. Uh-huh. And so I'm there, I'm by myself, out in the middle of nowhere, and there was a little community called Kohala, specifically Hawi, Hawi, but in Hawaii the V's or the W's are pronounced with a V. And I had on a Nacogdoches, Texas shirt, and a passerby knew Nacogdoches and stopped and said, "Nacogdoches, I know that. That's the oldest town in Texas. That's where Stephen F. Austin State University is."
Hey, how about that?
How about that? What is that, 2,400 miles away, and can't escape it. Everywhere I go, someone has heard of Nacogdoches, Texas, and Stephen F. Austin State University.
You just never know. The old town of Texas, word gets around.
Right.
Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and get right to it. Before the call, you made a comment, and I don't want to delay.
Okay.
What are you seeing because I would not have really thought about this from the perspective that you presented it. I understand that there's an evolving change in demands, but my immediate assumption would have been that those changes of demands that you and your peers in the higher education industry are seeing are really being driven by the industry. But you were very quick to say that the changes in demands, you're really seeing that being driven by the business students.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we have both sides we deal with all the time. There are changes. It's a dynamic time in higher education right now. There are changes happening everywhere. Something that I don't think gets much discussion that has been very significant in higher education has been the change in attitudes of students and families really since the financial crisis.
Okay.
It amazed me. It's made me all my career really prior to that, just how, frankly, price insensitive consumers were in higher education. Since that time, it's been ROI.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So how does that dialogue sound as far as the conversations that you're having or your admissions staff are having?
Yeah, it's very frank. When we talk to, and I think rightfully so, when we talk to parents, when we talk to students, of course they want to know about our programs. The programs and academics are what we will always be about. But what they care most about those programs is if it's going to help them or their students land that job and have a good career and a good life. If I come here, what are my chances of landing that job and making a good living? And can I pay off my student loans when I'm done?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's not bring that one up.
That has changed so much.
Yeah. Wow. So you're really, all things equal, choose your program, bachelor's of accounting. Let's use that one. Mm-hmm. So you and several other universities I might be looking at that I have been accepted to for a bachelor's of accounting program. as a student or as a parent of a student, now that I have teenagers, I probably should think more about that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
My dialogue with you is, look, my son or daughter is going to complete this bachelor's of accounting. How is their participating at your university going to provide us and them a better return on our investment?
Yes, that's a great question. That's exactly the question that we get. And again, I'll say rightfully so. As a parent, I would ask the exact same question, and as a student. And so really what has changed so much in higher education is there's more being demanded of us, and again, rightfully so. And so we understand fully that the days are long gone, frankly. In fact, it predates me when simply getting a bachelor's degree was a guarantee that you're going to have a great job when you're done.
Okay.
And so we look at,
I agree.
in fact, our mission, we call it a learn, launch, lead mission. It's not only about the classroom, it's about your life. And so
let's say that
Go ahead.
Let's say that one more time. Learn,
Sure.
launch, lead.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a learn, launch, lead mission.
Learn, launch, lead mission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that goes far beyond your classroom experience. So learn is obviously your time at the university.
Mm-hmm.
Career, I'm assuming, is the reference to launch.
Mm-hmm.
Lead, becoming a leader in your field.
Yeah, and so you're looking at the whole life there. It's not just time in the classroom; it's your life, and we prepare you for life. If you're going to have that good ROI, it's not just about getting your degree; it's getting that first job. And once you land that first job, how are you going to become a leader? And how can we be your resource after you've graduated to help you become that leader you want to be?
Wow. Okay. Let's flip the script. Changes in demands. We brought up business students. What are you seeing changes in demands from industry?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So much of that is evolving right now. I think maybe the largest change that we've seen is that employers don't look quite so much for just the canned package major. Say you're a finance major or marketing, whatever your major might be.
Okay.
That in and of itself is not necessarily the skill set they're looking for. They want to know what, if you unpack that degree, what are the specific credentials that you bring to the table? What are your skills? The degree name is one thing, but really, what does that mean? What do you know?
Wow.
Do you understand analytics? Can you use data? And by the way, can you communicate that when you're done with it? Do you have that package, and is that included in that degree that you're bringing to us? And so it's those specific, almost micro level credentials that employers are looking at more so than the traditional major that we've had in place for however many years.
Speaking of leadership, what are universities doing differently than what they may have done in the past? So, the information in and of itself, let's assume that the student's walking away with that. But what about their ability to lead and their ability to be led?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. Some are new, some are maybe perhaps not so new.
Okay.
But one important thing that we do, and many others do, is in addition to anything that happens in the classroom, we bring in people who have led successfully and understand what it means to be a leader, and just have them talk to our students, share to them real world practical experience on what does it take to be a leader, and what is it like to be led, and how can you be good in both.
Right.
You bring in those folks who can do that for them, and they can hear that from someone other than us, someone who's been out there and done it, and can show that they have been successful, and students like to hear that.
Well, I think it helps prepare, because out in the real world, there's so many SME, the subject matter experts, mm-hmm. and they do so well in an individual contributor role. I mean, what they're doing is incredible for the organization. It's a much needed role that they fill, but their success there does not necessarily mean that they will be successful in a leadership role. Okay.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Or at least this has been my experience. And I know that others that have come on the show have really spoken to that as well. I mean, some scholar practitioners and HR have gone so far back to talk about leaders, get into a really heightened role, and out of nowhere, a childhood trauma reveals itself. And they're having to get coaches and people to help them through that, so it doesn't affect them and their role. So leadership from a just looking at it, to me, the word needs to be discussed more as far as the willingness to be led. Okay.
Sure.
I think that we're all really wanting to be leaders at some point in our career, or the bulk of us are, especially as we advance throughout our career. But if you're able to get that student prepared knowledge-wise, and to your point, giving them access to real life leaders throughout their college career, they're going to be that much more prepared when they get out in the workforce. I want to touch on something. So recently I saw an article on LinkedIn, and it was about leadership, and it was Tony Hawk, professional skateboarder.
Sure.
And I want to say it was him helping his daughter drop in on a ramp. Drop in is where they have their skateboard on the top platform and they actually dive into the ramp. I've done that before. It is absolutely terrifying the first time you do it. I think it would have been a lot easier if Tony Hawk were the one helping me do it the first time.
Yeah, that'd give a little inspiration, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And of course, there's safety gear now that didn't exist back when I was trying it. But in preparing for our call and poking around, I see that your students are going to have access to a very good conversation with Tony Hawk.
Yeah, that's an exciting day for us, and that's a great example of what we were just talking about. Our students are going to get to interact with Tony Hawk a good bit that day and hear him and his actual formal presentation, but actually have a class with him during that day and hear from him one-on-one. And the idea being, again, that we want to inspire those future business leaders. You can see how you can take something. Tell our students you can see that you can take your passion, whatever it is. If you have the tools of business, you can take that passion and turn it into something good. And you can have that great life that you want to have if you have the tools that it takes. And that includes being a leader.
Right.
And so we're so excited about that opportunity because I know that it has our students excited. It's energized our student base. And they're going to go to this event excited to learn about being a leader.
Well,
taking your passion, turning something good.
So obviously his skills on a skateboard are incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, what he's been able to accomplish just within the sport is very profound. But branding, guy's an expert, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, he is right on the cutting edge of branding. Look, skateboarding is not necessarily the most popular sport in the United States, but yet people know exactly who Tony Hawk is.
Yeah. Talk about a branding challenge. Go back to the time, Kerry. You probably remember, like I do, that skateboarding at the time when this started wasn't necessarily the coolest thing on earth. And he's taken that to where he has turned it into something incredibly cool. And the brand is just phenomenal.
Yeah. It would not surprise me if he's been on the box of Wheaties.
Yeah.
It really wouldn't. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is amazing. All right. Next topic, something I'm very interested in, regardless of who I'm speaking with and what industry they're in. Disruptors.
Sure.
I am obsessed with disruptors. I think it's safe to say that there are some industries that are a little safer than others. Notice I only said the word a little, but a little safer than others. But what are you seeing in the higher education industry from a disruptor challenge?
Yeah, that's a big one, right? Of course, we all know that disruptor that's most dangerous is the one we haven't thought of yet.
Exactly.
But what I think is really interesting right now in higher education is we talk about the disruptors. They're there. We all see the disruptors. So much of the conversation, however, still revolves around online education.
Okay.
And you look of course, it's a significant player in the field. But when you sit back and think about online education, we've been talking about this for over 20 years now.
Okay.
Time flies, Kerry. This has been over 20 years we've been talking about online education as a disruptor. And as to where online is really a core part of what so many of us do. That I think technologies are on the way where online just might be disrupted a bit.
That's what I was wondering is I'm not convinced that they are safe.
Yeah, I think we're there. I think technology has caught up with some other things that we would like to do in higher education to better deliver some product.
Okay.
And I think that when the right people get the right package together, I think we'll see a disruptor for online. And I think that might be the most interesting thing we might see in the coming years.
So for someone in your role, I'm guessing here that you can't afford to be on the bleeding edge of the sword of change.
Hmm.
But I also think that you can't afford to be too far off of that bleeding edge to stay relevant. Is that safe?
Yeah, I think that that's accurate. The nice thing is, I think when you truly take the time to reflect on things properly, to be on that bleeding edge isn't always truly costly. Sometimes some of the most innovative things that you will see are not all that particularly expensive. It's getting the idea that is the cost, and convincing others to implement. That's the cost of so many things that we do. Financially, some of these things are not going to be all that terribly expensive. It's being a first mover and inspiring others to do it, to
Well,
engage.
and there's the tricky part, right? I mean, how do you inspire? Let's just say that, it's a bureaucracy out there. It really is.
Mhm.
There's so many layers of approval that are required. How do you inspire up when you're looking to implement a new program or a change that keeps you close to that bleeding edge? Is it just the passion that you're bringing? Obviously, you're an intelligent person and you've got the data to back up your recommendations, but how do you translate to a very tenured educator that is convinced that the way we're doing it right now does not need to change? How do you get them to feel that fire?
Well, I think there are a couple things to your question. Maybe one is, inspiring up. It's you have a lot of people in higher education who are truly passionate about what they do,
Right,
whether you're dealing with a bureaucracy or not. And
right,
so
right.
if you can show people that what you're doing is going to impact students and improve their lives, and you can show that what you're doing is tied to the mission, you can get that support, and people can get pretty excited about things. And I think the same thing goes for professors. Professors are in this game, for lack of a better term, because they care about students. They like engaging with students.
Right, right.
And so if you can show there's an innovation that is actually going to help you accomplish your goal of helping students, people do get excited about it. It's really about communicating it clearly, uh, and following your own passion.
Wow. Well, I mean, obviously you're very successful with this. I mean, if it's still correct, you guys are what, the second in the state of Texas to offer a bachelor's in banking?
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean,
Yeah,
good.
at the undergraduate level, that's
At the
correct.
undergraduate level. So there's some fantastic graduate programs that have been out for a number of years.
Hmm.
LSU or
Correct.
Pacific Coast, but being in the banking industry or working with it, there's definitely a gap of talent about my age actually. And going down a little bit more. And the bachelor's of banking, it excites me to think that students can come into that career with an advantage that I definitely did not have coming into it. Banking is a very complex system. It's so simple on the outside, but once you're in it, to have that understanding, that working knowledge of what exactly is happening, you're giving these students an advantage, an incredible advantage. So I mean, bachelor's of banking, you've got Tony Hawk, you've got all sorts of things happening over there.
Yeah, it's we try to be nimble and responsive to industry demands. Our goal is always to help our students succeed, and if we're going to do that, then we have to find the right programs and the right people.
The
It
right
takes those
people.
two things, the right people, both teaching our students and those professionals we bring in to speak with our students. And so, another interesting point in all of that, yeah, our banking program is a wonderful program. It is so unique, and we're excited about that. It fills a great void in the market here in East Texas. Uh, the other thing that we have is we're one of only two sports business programs in the College of Business in the state of Texas.
Wow.
And so we have sports business, which is our fastest growing major in the college, really growing rapidly at a time when Tony Hawk is coming in as our speaker, and those things are all coming together, and that is what excites people when they see all these different things coming together, to benefit our students.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, Dean, I appreciate your taking the time to visit with us today. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope to stay in touch. And let me see if I've got some gray hairs, so I don't know if it would stand out too much. But if I can, I sneak in to see Tony Hawk and act like I'm a student, maybe just a more mature, older student with
I
some.
bet you we can get you in somewhere. The main event's free and open to the public, so
Oh,
absolutely, yeah.
really?
Yeah, it is free and open to the public. So come on.
Oh,
We're happy to have you.
well, let's get the airline tickets booked. Dean, thank
All
you
right.
so much for coming on. It has just been an absolute pleasure to have you. Folks, that was Dean Timothy Bisping, Stephen F. Austin State University College of Business. Just what an interesting and amazing character. Thank you for joining the show. Hope everyone has a great day. Until next time. Thank you for listening to KMB Talk. You don't have to click home, but you can't stay here.